welcome to another member talk. This is Rob with the WSFDA, and we're excited today because we have our in-house counsel joining us, Emily Albrecht, otherwise known as the Funeral Law Lady. Hi, Emily.
Hi, Rob. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for coming on here with us.
Thanks for having me.
We'll go quick because I know how it is with attorneys and spending money. So
I'm not charging you for this, so it's fine.
No, I tease you all the time about it. I know, but no, we're excited to have you on here because you are the WSFDA's in-house counsel, but you are the funeral law lady. You're widely popular on social sites like Twitter and Instagram, and we love having you a part of our organization, and just knowing that we have the legal backing of somebody that knows what they're doing and is familiar with funeral law, and able to just sit and talk with us and share ideas and provide us with some counsel of which direction we need to go when we get to those points. Tell us what it's like to be a funeral law person, because I don't think that there's a whole lot of you out there that really specialize the law around funeral service. First off, I guess the question is that a very niche market, so to speak, or where are you at with that?
It definitely is. And of the few folks that do kind of focus on funeral law, the vast majority of them are on the plaintiff side of things. So as we've all heard of the big verdicts that have come out in the last couple of years, especially, like, there's a lot of money to be made in suing funeral homes. So
Yeah.
Most folks go that direction rather than being on the side of the funeral home and providing a defense.
But you're really good, and I know we've talked with you before, and you've been to a number of conventions and district meetings. You're really good about kind of proactively defending funeral homes, if you will, as far as, when people talk to you, they can call and kind of give those advice to how to avoid these pitfalls of lawsuits.
Totally. And that's a huge thing. I'm glad you brought that up. That's a huge thing I stress to everybody, is the importance of, being proactive rather than reactive, because, there are so many different areas of vulnerability for the death care industry where you can be exposed to liability. So your best bet is to just, again, be proactive rather than reactive. And a lot of my presentations focus on, looking at what's happening in the industry, who's getting sued, what happened, and instead of thinking, that could never happen to us, right? Because, like, we're not stupid. But it's like, those people aren't stupid either. Mistakes happen. People are human. There's a lot of moving parts. So I always encourage everyone to, read those news stories, look at what the trends are in lawsuits, and then take an opportunity to learn from other people's mistakes, basically. Yeah.
I don't want to get too in depth with other clients or things, lawsuits that you've been a part of, but if you can kind of give us just a general overview of some of the things that you are seeing that funeral homes are getting in trouble about.
Sure. In the last few years, especially, the most common things I've been seeing are chain of custody issues, which ultimately can lead to, mix-ups, that wasn't mom in the casket at the funeral, or even worst case scenario, when there's a mix-up and someone's cremated who should not be, or someone is embalmed who didn't want to be, especially on the cremation side of lawsuits, because of course that's irreversible and it's pretty, an extreme thing for a family to have to deal with. There are big verdicts that come out for those cases, so it's not hard for them to find a lawyer to file a lawsuit pretty quickly. And other than that, for years, there's going to be things that pop up where folks are less than satisfied with the outcome of an embalming. And again, when somebody gets to the point where a lawsuit is filed, God forbid, it's too late to start thinking about how we're going to handle it. You should be anticipating this not only before things happen, But once something does happen, if and when a mistake occurs or something happens where the family's not satisfied, there are so many ways that you can get involved, and mitigate the situation so that hopefully the lawsuit's never filed. So the lawsuit being filed is worst case scenario. So you have to think about all the other things that have been happening where fortunately they were able to resolve it before they got to that point. The lawsuits are the extreme cases because the lawyers know that there's, a potential huge jury verdict that they could get if they take it to trial.
Well, yeah, and I mean, it's obvious with funeral homes, when we work primarily with emotional aspects of people's lives, and I think that can tend to lead to many more issues. Having somebody on your side, such as you, can help mitigate through some of those issues and hopefully prevent those lawsuits from coming just through open communication with families and continuing to have that conversation. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And yeah, like you said, you folks are dealing with people in some of the most emotional times in their lives. And especially if it's like the first time someone's really experienced a death of a loved one, like it's it's unlike any other industry, right? Most of the time, folks, even in the medical profession, like folks aren't necessarily going to be that emotional. And so if and when, things don't go 100% according to plan, people are already emotionally amped up and feel vulnerable or helpless. And sometimes, it's easier for people to just channel their emotions towards being mad at the funeral home because they don't really know what they're processing. They're going through the grieving stage. They just want to, blame somebody for something at that point. And then on top of that, the reality is that the death care industry is fighting an uphill battle anyways because of the negative, portrayal in particularly in the media in the last couple of years. So, if and when something goes wrong, people are really quick to point fingers and blame, and it is what it is, but we have to just deal with the reality of it.
Yeah. Now you office in Seattle, actually kind of right in the heart of downtown Seattle.
Yeah, I'm right by the Amazon spheres.
Yeah, yeah. But you're not just in Washington or just in Seattle, is that right? I mean, you can represent outside of the state, or are you kind of bound by the borders of the state of Washington?
So I have clients from all over the country. Technically, if a lawsuit was to be filed against a client in another state, there's just kind of some legal hoops I'd have to jump through, and work with another attorney in the state, basically, if we had to go to court on that. But I do have clients. A lot of my business also is kind of in a consulting aspect, or folks that are just starting new businesses and just getting into the industry. And so they're looking for guidance from someone who's familiar with the nuances of the industry and of course, the niche area of law. And then I also have folks that I can help anyone across the country with FTC funeral rule compliance stuff because it's federal. So
Sure.
If you're admitted to practice in one state, then you can practice federal law.
So Washington's unique in the fact that we have just recently enacted many new laws with regards to disposition,
Yes.
many new laws in our languages of the RCWs. Are you up to date with all those of what's going on here in Washington, and do you expect that there's going to be some legal challenges to any of these, such as the addition of the new disposition, or even potentially some of the new licensing requirements that are going to be I shouldn't say are going to be, that currently are required for disposition operators, such as crematory operators, alkaline hydrolysis, natural organic reduction? Do you see anything coming out of that, just as if you could look at your magic ball and see what's coming up?
Well, yeah. So I'm really familiar because, all the folks that are starting to build businesses to do these new types of disposition are my clients, either my
Yeah.
clients or, connections that I have. And I've been getting calls ever since the law was signed. And it's also interesting that, because it just went into effect officially as of May 1 during kind of this whole pandemic thing. So there are a lot of unanswered questions surrounding, what is licensure going to look like and entail? How are things going to be regulated under the current framework? Um, it's a really interesting and exciting time for me, of course, because we're kind of just navigating this and learning as we go. So it's a unique opportunity wherein I feel like, working with the regulators, we're kind of able to craft what that's going to look like as we go along. And like I said, we're all kind of just learning as we go. And there are a lot of questions that remain to be answered, but I don't look at that as a bad thing. I think that, it's a great opportunity to have the regulations kind of be crafted around these really unique new forms of disposition.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited about it. I mean, it kind of puts us on the cusp of innovation, if you will.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I mean, I know the laws are enacted now and it's officially legal. In talking with licensing, I don't know, at least at this point, there hasn't been any applications put in yet, but I think a lot of that is primarily because of COVID. And,
Right.
everybody's working from home and our outlook on the future is so much different than it was six weeks ago, 8 weeks ago. We're changing everything, but it's going to be interesting. Washington is a fun state, and it seems like we're ready to move forward with a whole lot of new things.
Sure.
We kind of alluded to it a little bit, but Funeral Law Lady, your handle on Twitter and Instagram and social media, you got quite a following. In fact, I'm looking at your Twitter page. You got 1,000 people that are following what you're posting on there pretty regularly. And I know that last fall, it was kind of funny. Some new friends of mine, Brian and Ryan from Undertaking the Podcast, they came out and were part of our convention last year. But one of the first things they said when I got to meet them was, "Oh my gosh, Funeral Law Lady's here. We got to go talk to her too."
Yeah.
But yeah, you're getting to be pretty. Well, I don't want to say popular, but for lack of better terms, you're kind of getting yourself out there a little bit.
It's really interesting, and especially on Instagram, I think I have over 2,000 followers on there now, which is kind of, I've only had that account since I think I started the Funeral Law Lady Instagram early 2019. I've had the Twitter since about 2016.
Yeah.
But given, the current, especially the demographic of folks that are, coming out of mortuary schools, there's a ton of millennials, right? So people, and also I learned over time that the death care industry is just really engaged in social media, and there's this big presence, this big community, with kind of like death care celebrities that you don't see in a lot of other industries. And it's cool because it does give us a sense of community, and it does, you know getting recognized by Ryan and Brian, or me recognizing them. Like, it's fun to finally get to meet people in person that we've been interacting with for a while, or we share a
Sure.
lot of common followers. And yeah, I've had a really great experience. Before making that Instagram, I had a personal Instagram for years. I just I had like 100 followers. I never really used it. I had it was private. And so from making that transition and kind of learning how to generate content that folks respond well to, it's a really interesting process. And it's been a learning curve, but now I just love it. It's just kind of my second nature.
Well, maybe you can talk to this a little bit. In my experience, what I've seen is when you put yourself out there socially on any of the platforms, no matter what they are, you get the people that absolutely love it, and then you get the people that want to argue every single point, every single detail. Are you seeing that on some of your pages? And
So I've been fortunate in that, like, I haven't had any real, like, haters or anything. I laugh, but really, I know I have, close friends in the industry that have experienced, like, straight up bullying or
Yeah.
trolls on the internet. It's an issue in particular with regard to women within the industry. I kind of feel like people just aren't trying to screw with me because they're probably scared because I'm a lawyer. So maybe they don't see me as like the ideal target. I don't know. Maybe that when I finally become super popular, then I'm gonna have haters. But no, people have been really nice, and overall, I've had a really good experience. Now, like, watch, like tomorrow, someone's gonna start
Yeah.
talking smack to me.
Yeah, we might have to
That's fine.
delete that
Bring
portion.
it. No. I truly, I mean, I know that there is, you know, the internet is what it is, and there are all kinds of issues with that in many contexts. But personally, no, I'm fortunate to have had a pretty good experience.
Good. Well, I'm happy because I know, and we've had many conversations, not necessarily on the air, but private conversations with some of the things that we're working on and working through, and it seems to me like you really kind of know, you've got your finger on the pulse of what's needing to be done and where we're at with things. So I'm glad to see that. I know sometimes people tend to get very opinionated, and they want to argue everything. Of course, everybody's brave behind the
Behind
curtain
the
of
computer
social media.
screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Well,
no, I'm
it's also, yeah, I think I'm in a unique place within the industry in that, I have all different kinds of clients from all different, parts of the industry, different levels of experience, different age range, different genders. And so I don't feel like I've been kind of like put into any of the particular like cliques within the industry. And so again, maybe it's just the fact that, like, if there's a lawyer who could help you out when you need it, you probably don't want to piss that person off. So they're just not mean to me. But no,
sure.
and I use the opportunity too to introduce people that maybe would not have interacted prior to that, just given, particularly like generational gaps.
Mm,
So when I'm out at conventions or people will come to my talks, a lot of times there's kind of a crossover between the newer generation and then the folks that have been doing this forever. So, and I've seen good results from that. Honestly, I'm glad that I'm able to kind of help put people into contact.
Well, that's great. Let's talk, if we can, just so people have a true and complete understanding. Let's talk about, what does it mean to be house counsel for the association? That, I guess the question is, if I'm a member of the association and I need an attorney, I can call you and get in touch with you, or how does that work?
Yeah, so I serve in the capacity of general counsel for the association
Okay.
itself. And then members, as part of your membership benefit, I welcome phone calls from WSFA members. I get tons of phone calls all the time. You know, even if you just have, even if you just want to say hi, but a lot of times it's like I get to know everybody. We all know that little things pop up here and there. You don't need to wait until something terrible has happened. I'd rather, if you're unsure about something legally, or you're dealing with, a difficult situation, contested family members and whatnot. Yeah, I highly encourage everybody to, if you're recognizing there's something that you're really not sure about, just pick up the phone, send me an email, and I'm happy to help. I see a lot of the same issues pop up, pretty frequently. So I usually will be able to just help you right away. And if not, if there's not a clear answer, then we can do some digging and figure out, what's going on and get to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
You don't have to
Well,
wait till you get a lawsuit filed to call me. That's what I'm trying to say. Please don't, because that's worst case scenario.
sure. Well, tell us, what is that number? Do you have it? Can you give it to me?
So I am currently working remotely. Um, so and I haven't given out my cell phone publicly. So my office number, I actually
Email
it
works too, if that's easier.
yeah, I think that
Let's do email.
because I'm not at my desk so much
Sure.
right now,
Yeah.
the best way to reach me is going to be Albrecht, my last name, and it'll be in the spelling on this, at gandtlawfirm.com. And is spelled out AND.
Right. Yeah, we'll post it on there so people can reach out to you. Emily,
Yeah.
it's been a pleasure having you. You know, I've had the honor of knowing you for quite a number of years now. Had the privilege of not having to use you for quite a number of years, but it's nice to know that we have that security blanket. You know, that
Absolutely.
we can contact you, we can run stuff by you. I know that we've done that on a number of different topics as an association, but also on a personal level. Just to,
Yeah, and
hey,
I think
how's it
it's a
going? What do you
great
think?
membership benefit, like we were saying, like the fact that you do have a solid general counsel who's familiar and kind of ingrained within the industry and
Right.
making me be accessible to members. Like I hope people feel like they can, are free to take advantage of that, because you're really, not every state does that. So I feel like WSFDA is doing a really fantastic job at that.
Well, good. Thank you for that
Maybe I'm
plug.
biased a little bit, but
Well, good deal. Well, we're going to put your email on here so people can reach out to you.
great.
And hopefully they do. I hope that, like you say, before that time comes, that there is that lawsuit. As you know, we live in a very litigious society where you can get sued for anything at any time by anyone. And it's always good to know you got somebody behind you that's got your back. So thank you for being our counsel. Thank you for what you do for our members and for our non-members. And, we look forward to continuing to work with you.
Absolutely. And I've met so many folks over the years, so many members, and I look forward to meeting folks I haven't come across paths with yet, and new members, and hopefully Deaf Counsel going forward.
At
So
this
far,
point, yes, we are. Actually, I'm glad you bring that up because we are still focused on the planning phase of it. We are still focused on moving forward with it. At this point, it seems like the only thing that's really going to prevent it from happening is if we can't move as a state into the next phase, which should be, I believe, phase 3, which would open the door for meetings bigger than 50 people. So that could prevent it. Or it could be a facility, the facility might not want to move to that. We understand that as well. So we are planning for it. We are still hoping for it. We've got a lot of people that are looking forward to it. I, for one, am included in that.
me
And
too.
we got a lot of new stuff coming to it. So hopefully it works and we can do it. Otherwise, we'll see what happens. I don't know.
Well, I look forward to meeting people and seeing people again when we're able to finally get back together in whatever context that's going to be. So
Absolutely. So, well, again, thank you for coming on.
thanks for having me.
You bet. And reach out to Emily if you have any questions. In the meantime, if you're liking Member Talks, please subscribe on YouTube. Please follow us on Facebook. If you want to be a part of this, please reach out to me anytime. Until next time, we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
All right.